from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kennon Wesley Mason.
World, how is everybody today? I am your host, Louise Hicks of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, and we are here live with you at a special time today, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And feel free to call in at 1-323-522-5482 and join us.
That's right, and my name is Kennon Mason, and I am your co-host, and as always, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening and watching Aim to Purpose, the radio show from all over the world, as we bring you another live episode, as my mom just said, a special time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as this episode is Mental Health is Our Natural State, a conversation with our guest for today, Dr. Alison J. K. And I like this piece that just played at the top of the show. It's actually right up my alley because for the last 15 years, I've studied much of what was just presented here in this video about the energy vortexes, if you will, called the chakras. And I like the fact that we're going to go deep into this particular topic, which we never hear about these particular modalities in the mainstream of health practices.
And
go ahead.
And you won't, because they don't want you to know about this, because as you could see the video that Dr. K, who will come on in a bit, she's going to be Skyping in from sunshine Florida. And we're looking forward to having Dr. K on the show, Alison J. K, because she's
PhD.
Yes, and Dr. K is going to talk to us about the chakras. She's going to talk about energy, and if you saw that video, how it was moving, and do you sometimes feel like your life is just moving? Well, life is moving, but however, you are not moving because there's something blocking you from moving and finding your true purpose in life. So we're going to talk to Dr. K when she calls in a bit, but until she calls in with us, we're just going to share some highlights of what's been going on, hot topics, what's going on the weekends, and as usual, I guess you could say the political system is heating up. And maybe that's one of the reasons they don't want you to learn about chakras and your energy, because of all the things that we are programmed and indoctrinated to believe that really goes against the grain of nature and how our lives should function, so that we can have harmony within not only our lives, but we can have some harmony together. And we're going to be talking a lot about that with Dr. K, because right now it appears that a lot of us are out of balance with our lives. We don't know how to put our lives back into balance. We're just busying along every day, and we're not focused. So she's going to help us and show us how to do that with her system. And I know Ken knows a lot about chakras. I'm fairly new to it, but I'm learning because he's my teacher and I'm his teacher. We mentor each other. He shares with me the things he knows, and I share with him the things that I know. So go ahead, Ken, and you can
well, you're going to tell what happened with you this weekend?
Oh, yes. I want to share that with you. I had a very exciting weekend. I went to a fashion show. It was called Black Business Women Rock Spring Forward Fashion Show, and it was very dynamic. I met some amazing entrepreneurs who were sharing their gifts, their talents. I was able to take my grandbaby, who is 21 months, because I had her, and it was so exciting to have her, because this is a time where she really should be learning about entrepreneurship. I want her to learn at a young age what it is like to be your own boss, to present your own skills and talents. Use that brilliant mind of yours to get the desires of your heart. And I tell you, this little 21-month-old was just so, I call it good, because for her to be a 21-month-old, she was like a little lady. I mean, she could have gone and modeled with the fashion entrepreneurs. And I met these amazing people that shared information about health care and how to best take care of yourself. The fashion, some were designers, and we had holistic people there, which is what Dr. K is going to share some information with us about. So it was an amazing, informative event where relationships were established. And Miss Nadalyn Randall, who is the CEO and founder of Black Business Women Rock, is an amazing woman. She had this vision, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and she started it in her backyard. And apparently she had her chakras going, and we got to find out more about what that is, because her vision has moved now to a movement called Black Business Women Rock. And I love it because as women, we need that camaraderie to get together and share resources, information. And this was not only an event for women, there were men there as well, sharing their talents. In fact, I met a gentleman there, and I want to share a little bit about him. He makes hats. I mean, women hats, women purses. He makes dolls, little dolls that you can use as a conversation piece. I mean, it's amazing, the entrepreneurs that were there with all of their talents, and the ones that some, I believe, made products that you can use on your skin. There were jewelry makers there, and this was an amazing event, and I was so excited. And I'd like to give a shout out to Miss Nadalyn Randall for all of her good deeds that she's doing in bringing people together, not just Black people. She's bringing people together through love, peace, harmony, which is how the world really should be run. And when we talk to Dr. K, she's going to shed some more light on how the energy, and you talking about energy, that event just had energy just flowing, powerful, and it was so empowering. So I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my grandbaby. She was exciting, and just she's a vigilant little person, and I just love her dearly.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm glad that she was able to go as well, because like you said, when you have a child in a certain environment, the energy of that environment is kind of saturated onto the child. All of the business women that were there, all of the business men that were there, all of the people that were networking, conversing with each other, sharing ideas, sharing the ideas that they have for future endeavors. My daughter had an opportunity to be engulfed in that energy, which means as she gets older, she'll have that entrepreneurial spirit that will take her to bigger and better heights. So I thank you for wanting her to be a part of that.
Oh yes,
because it's good for her being a girl, and her growing up to be a woman. She can be that next big entrepreneur,
and she will
make right, and she will, because she has many people around her that have that entrepreneurial spirit and want to do more and want to do things and want to share new ideas. She is an energetic child, and she learns very fast as well. So the more she goes, the more she is around that type of an environment, it can't do anything but positive for her moving forward.
Yes, and that's basically all. It would be a lot of positivity, and I'm so happy that I was able to take her. In fact, it was mostly adults, of course, at the event. However, she was the little spirited entrepreneur, and everybody just loved her, and she was just a good child. I didn't have any problems with her, and I believe this is something we need to do. Take our children to these type of functions, because they learn an important aspect of life, which is discipline, which is so important.
Yeah, and another thing, was it anything else that you wanted to mention about that?
No.
Okay. For me, since we're going to be speaking of the ways of the deeper workings of how the human body functions, I listened again to a wonderful book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil.
Love that book.
Which is it's almost indescribable how powerful this book is. Especially listening to the audio version. I have the book and the audio version, but I was listening to this this audio version of the book Outwitting the Devil, and it really hit home for me listening to it a second time around, being that I myself have the entrepreneurial spirit, bringing kinetic fit and wellness to the world very soon. It's right around the corner, and we will feature it on this show in the near future. I had a lot of epiphanies, if you will, more so than I did the first time around. We have to change our thinking patterns. It makes all of the difference in our success or lack of success. It took me a long time and a lot of years to really realize the power that all individuals have. All 7 billion people have the same fundamental functions. But unfortunately, because of how many of us have grown and learned in society, everything that's been taught to us has been backwards. And
by design.
By design. So
that's
listening,
no coincidence.
So listening and reading this book, and how things are so strategically placed for our failure, we have to be 10 steps ahead of that and be wiser thinkers and learn how to check our emotions at every cut and corner. We have to learn how to use our faculties to our advantage. They just showed the chakras on the video that was shown in the top of the hour. Once we learn to master all of the 7 basic chakras, there are more, but the 7 basic ones that are shown here, once we master those, there is a plethora of doors that will open up through the universe or the creator or whatever you choose to call the superior or supreme power that is energy. So I can't wait to have this conversation with Dr. K, because we may have some of the same ideals as far as energy and how you can use it to your advantage moving through life.
Oh, yeah. And I can't wait to have this conversation with Dr. K, too, because I know I'm going to learn a lot, and we're sure our listening audience will also learn a lot. And she's going to be calling in.
She's on.
Oh, she's already on? Okay.
We're going to take a break.
Dr. K has already called in from sunny Florida, so we're going to take a break right quick, and then we're going to come right back and introduce you to Dr. K. So
yes.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about mental health is our mental state, a conversation with Dr. Alison J. K. So we'll be right back.
Hello, world! On behalf of everyone at Aim to Purpose, the radio show, we want to thank you, the viewing and listening audience around the world, for tuning in each and every week to experience the best in the internet radio hemisphere, listen to the best in life-altering information, and feel the energy of each guest as they share personal stories and in-depth knowledge on a wide variety of topics intended to capture your interest and keep your attention span at an all-time high. Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is about enlightenment, opening the mind to new ideas, and challenging the status quo. It's also about elevation, success, honesty, and universal truth as we enjoy free-flowing conversation in a fun-filled environment. So tell everyone you know to tune in each week and plug into the A2P universe. Your power lies within you, so let it loose. This is Kennon Mason, co-host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
Hello again, world. I am your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with my son and co-host, Kennon Wesley Mason. And we're going to go ahead and introduce you to our very special guest at this special time, Dr. Alison J. K. And we're going to talk about mental health is our natural state.
Yes, Dr. Alison J. K. is a mastermind body energy medicine practitioner for more than 20 years, a world traveler who lived and worked at an international school in Asia for 10 years, who currently facilitates outrageously rewarding energy healings for clients worldwide, which has earned her the nickname Lightning Bolt. She is the founder of the Vibrational Upgrade System, and her more than 20 years of experience includes working in and teaching yoga, meditation, qigong, energy medicine, mind-body fitness, longevity, and holistic health, with a specialized focus on the chakra system. Dr. Alison is considered one of the leading experts on using the chakra system as a roadmap for thriving in mind, body, and spirit, while applied in a unique way. She authored her cornerstone book, What If There's Something Wrong, in 2013, and will soon be releasing her follow-up, Vibrational Upgrade, a conspiracy for our bliss. She currently resides in Florida. So let's give a special Aim to Purpose welcome to Dr. Alison J. K.
Hello, Dr.
There's nothing.
Hello.
It's not what if there's something wrong, which is so naturally rolling off the tongue. It's what if there's nothing wrong.
Hello, Dr. Lightning Bolt. How are you?
I'm fabulous. I just am fresh out of teaching my yoga and meditation class geared at clearing the chakras, and my chakras feel good, and we're all humming, and it was a great class, and I got to listen to the last 10 minutes of you guys talking. I don't know that you knew I was here, and
Oh, yeah,
I loved what you were saying. So
Absolutely.
Go right into it, because we've got a lot to talk about, apparently.
Oh,
Great.
great. And we're so happy to have you. Thanks for coming on. And with all of this information you have, Dr. K, as also known as Dr. Lightning Bolt, I'm sure we will have you back, because an hour is just not enough time to inform with all this information you have and transform people across the world. So thank you again. So, so let's talk about all this energy just flowing. We saw the film at the top of the hour with the chakras, and Kennon is really in touch with the chakras. I'm not as much, but I'm learning from people like you and him. So, but let's talk about the energy medicine first and this vibrational upgrade. What exactly is that? And then we're going to talk about the chakras.
Well, I can answer that question in many different ways, and giving it a contextualization is probably a good way for the listeners. A vibrational upgrade is happening planet-wide right now, and on December 21st in 2012, I was part of a really great group of people. I had the honor of being the yoga teacher and meditation teacher and energy medicine practitioner on a cruise with a bunch of experts around the December 21st, 2012 phenomena, and they were up on the deck of the cruise ship looking through telescopes, and they were able to secure a special meeting with a Mayan shaman at the Chichen Itza Mayan ruins on the day of the alignment. And what was explained to me is that the Mayans knew when they saw what was going to be happening in 2012, how high the vibrations were hitting the earth, hence the building of the stone pyramids, to help the stone pyramids help the earth harness the height of the vibrations that they saw coming down onto the earth at this time. So what's been happening since even before, some people have had it ripping through their lives, even like starting in 2010. I actually had it even earlier than that, I guess, to prepare me to help lead the way here. It's ripping through our systems. And so what that means is the energies or the vibrations, if you were to go on NASA.com, for example, and you were to look up the different constellations, the different eclipses, the different phenomena that's happened in our sky in the last 3 or 4 years, you would see many, many times, this hasn't happened in 500 years. This hasn't happened in over 1,400 years. This hasn't happened in over 250 years. There's been massive different formations geared at our humanity's spiritual awakening. That's the understanding of what we're in right now, and it's considered humanity's greatest evolutionary leap forward. So that having been said, what's showing up is people are finding themselves increasingly sensitive. They're finding themselves absorbing other people's energy. They're finding more of a bleed over from other people's energy that they're around. They're finding themselves more sensitive to noise. They're finding themselves thinking about someone, and then that person suddenly texts or calls. It's a lot more psychic and spiritual. So when we, even in the process of meditation, and when we open up in meditation after 20 minutes of a sustained meditation, things happen in our brain that allow for that ego, identity, sense of separateness to dissolve. And it's been measured neurologically. I quote this in my first book, What If There's Nothing Wrong? This thing called the anterior cingulate gets activated. And so what happens is the separation that we usually feel dissolves, and we start to feel that sense of connectedness. That's happening planet-wide.
Right.
So we're feeling more connected to each other. Yeah, so a vibrational upgrade is happening humanity-wide. What's also happening is there are people like me stepping up and forward to help people through this time right now to make the most use of it. So what I do is I use all the different tools at my disposal, which is what you just said for my bio, just to abbreviate. And whatever a person's coming to me for, wherever their blocks are, I'm using the tools at my disposal, with the energy medicine focused through the chakras being the primary tool. And I am helping them clear out the density, clear out the old energy, the blocks that they ever either inherited or experienced through trauma, or we could even get into a discussion about past life, because a chakra in Sanskrit translates into the English word wheel. So we have 7 main ones, and then we have some other ones that get activated later on down the line. And like for a total of 12, but the chakras are the intersection of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So if that's the case, then what happens is I'm able to, well, I never intended to go into past life stuff. I never intended to be working with that kind of a bend to my work, but it's just naturally evolved because I see that when I'm working with my hands over or on somebody's chakra, the energy or the light is helping to bring forward what's of a lower vibration. And sometimes it's trauma from a past life. I'll get an image flash across my head of something, and then I'll be holding my hands there, and it will eventually pass. And so it's the intersection of the mind, body, and spirit. So any kind of mental, unconscious, or subconscious blocks, or any kind of past life trauma, or any kind of bodily block is all at the same time getting worked on when I work through the chakras to help give the person a release of the lower densities and an increase of the higher ones so that they're raising their vibration to help them with their own individual vibrational upgrade.
Yeah, that is so true what you're saying, and I'm glad you are bringing this universal truth, because people are so hung up into others, particularly religionality, that's what I call it, as opposed to spirituality. And you're bringing forth more spirituality and helping people through humanity, and that's what we need, more of that, because we need to have, and people are being more connected. As you said, we are connected. We're not only through social media, but we are connected otherwise as spiritual beings, and that's a good thing. And you talked about chakras, but I know for me, I had not heard of chakras until a few years ago, and there's some people now that haven't heard of it. So let's go through them. You said there are 7 main ones, and you said more, but let's talk about the main ones. So why don't you tell us, what are chakras?
Well, as I said, chakra means wheel when you translate it from Sanskrit to English, and it's the intersection of the mind, the body, and the spirit. And we have 7 main ones. They run down the center line of everybody's body. Everybody has them. It doesn't matter whether you believe in them or not. And you know how you can feel somebody even as they enter a room and it makes you turn your head?
Right.
It's because their life force is really strongly emanating out through their chakras. So their chakras are more open. And you can also feel somebody if they're miserable, when they enter a room. They're broadcasting misery. And so our chakras broadcast our vibration. And our vibration, another way to say it is just simply the collection of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
That's right.
It's nothing more than that. Yeah, and so our vibration gets broadcast through our chakras. And each chakra, our whole entire life, whether it's romantic life, it's our sensual life, it's our feeling life, it's our psychic life, it's our intuitive life, it's our money flows, it's our business flows, it's our groundedness, it's our solidity and our foundation, or it's what we choose to put out into the world, or it's our levels of productivity, or it's our levels of care and concern for others, or if we're a giver, or if we're good at both giving and receiving, or if we're greedy, or if we tend to hoard. All of these areas get covered by the chakras. So
and we have a lot of the greediness coming. We definitely have a lot of that, the greediness. So can you break them down, starting with the first one, and just kind of name them and give us a brief understanding of what each one is? The 7, that is.
Yeah, and really, if listeners need more, you can go to my website. Alice is my name, ALISONJKAY.com, and there's quite an extensive list on my website. If you go under shop and you look up Chakra Attunement audio series, there's a list of the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual effects of, not effects, but area of life, aspects of life that each chakra covers. So, for example, the first chakra is at the perineum. Each chakra has been seen now to correspond to a major nerve plexus in the body along the spine, so where there's a gathering of receptors to receive messaging from the brain. It's been measured that they happen to correspond with the ancient chakra system. So there's messaging that happens at each of these centers. There's also each center tied into a major gland of the endocrine gland or the hormonal gland. So the root chakra is at the tailbone, and each chakra governs a certain part of the physical body as well. So the root chakra governs our foundation. It's our root. So it governs the tailbone and the legs, the knees, the feet down through the tips to the toes. And it's about our foundational support in life. It governs our stability, our groundedness. It governs our money issues. Do we provide a solid foundation for ourselves? Do we create that for ourselves? A sign of an out of balance root chakra is somebody who is kind of flighty and who changes relationships or jobs or moves around a lot. Somebody who trips and falls easily or is off balance easily isn't stably rooted. So all of these are examples of what the root chakra affects. Okay. And the second chakra is in the area that we frequently refer to as the core, and that is this is the right to feel the way that you feel. So each chakra has a right to it. This one governs the sensual life. So your tactile sensate life, like if you put your toes in the mud, or you you dip a strawberry in chocolate, or you run your hands along different fabrics or textiles, all of that is sensate, tactile feeling. So it's that's involved in the second chakra, as is our right to feel the way we feel. So what I see when I'm dealing with a client, for example, is if I'm going through their chakra system, and what I can see is that their hips will be tight here. This is the adrenal glands. Some people say the third chakra is the adrenal glands. I find that the adrenal glands are in between the second and the third. So the second chakra is also governing the upper reproductive tract, and that is dealing with then, let me give you an example of what happens when a second chakra is blocked. So what will show up is somebody could have been programmed as they were coming home from school as a child from ages 0 to 8, because my first major in college was psychology, and I found it to be incomplete. I found it to only focus on the hardwiring of the brain, and I was taking classes like industrial psych, so it was used in application to our commercialism, and I just found it not answering the questions of how do human beings be happy. And so I changed, and why do humans do what they do? So after 3 semesters, I changed out of that major, even though later on I taught AP Psych at the high school level. So it was interesting when I went back to teach psychology, that developmental psychology, how it reinforces what I had learned since then, since taking it as my first major, about the chakra column. So what happens is from ages 0 to 8, we are forming our conclusions about how the world works.
That's
and
right.
From ages 0 to 2, we're not even separate. We don't even know how to separate from our parents, so our parents' thoughts and feelings and emotions are actually ours. And when we start going, no, at the terrible 2 stage, that's when we're actually creating our separate ego identity. That's why we're saying no. It's like pushing them off and away so we can have our own identity.
Right.
And so from there on, we're starting to go, okay, so how does Uncle Kenneth do it? How does Brother Joe do it? How does Sister Elena do it? How does Sister Elena get that loving feeling from Mommy? And how does Brother Joe get that good feeling from Dad? Okay, so Joe seems to follow Dad around and mimic Dad and do whatever Dad does. So I guess that's how I get love from Dad. And Mom, how do I get love from Mom? Oh, she seems to like it when I'm a good little girl and I'm quiet and I don't say much. Okay, so in goes subconscious conclusions of I get love from females by being quiet and not saying much and being a good little girl, and I get love from males by acting like doing what she does. So these are really off the cuff examples, but it's the programming that we then end up with at the subconscious and unconscious level. And one of the things I absolutely love to turn people in the West onto is and that's why this is titled the way it's titled, today's show with you, is in the Buddhist culture, so Buddhism is meditation by Buddha taken out of the yogic sages' practice in India and taking out, so there's 8 limbs to yoga, and 5 of the 8 are dealing with the mind. Only 1 of the 8 is dealing with the body postures.
Now, which chakra is that's dealing with the mind? Because this is mental National Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're talking about the mental health and it should be our mental state. So which one is dealing with the mind?
Lou, hold on. Let me finish where I was going with that, and I'll
Okay.
answer your question, okay?
Okay.
It'll naturally answer your question. Thank you. So Buddha took the 5 of the 8 limbs of yoga out of what the yogic sages had developed, and he focused on the mind and on meditation. So the Buddhist understanding is that every human mind is a neurotic mind.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the tools of meditation to learn how to deal with your own neuroses. So what I love turning people on to is, so for example, in the second chakra, if you have the conclusion that let's give another example. You come running home from school excited about this art project and nobody meets your excitement. And okay, you come home a second time with a science project or an art project again, and mom and dad don't really react with the same kind of excitement. As a matter of fact, it's almost like you need to be quiet and not really share your excitement. So you get then therefore the subconscious or even unconscious conclusion, wow, this must not be good. I must not be meant to show how I feel. So then that gets wired into the relevant chakra, which is the second chakra, about the feeling life. So 85% of what we choose, what we do on a daily basis is from subconscious and unconscious wiring. It's only at most 15%, that's being generous, of what we're doing on a daily basis comes from our conscious mind. So at least 85% of what we're doing is not coming from our thinking mind, so we're not aware or conscious of what we're thinking that leads to us to make the choices we make. So I really love to turn people on to that, especially when they're talking about mental health, because it's like you can't get there from the mind. You don't analyze yourself into mental health. Our natural wiring is to be mentally healthy, and where we're not, each of us has our own area where we're not, and so here are the tools to be able to find your own area. So going up to the 6th chakra, to answer your question directly now, Lou, skipping from the second, and to go up to the 6th chakra, now we're in the head. This is the one in between the eyebrows.
Okay.
And then the 7th one is the one at the crown. But Lou, really, there's unconscious, the thing to understand is it's not so concrete sequential like what you're asking for. Our unconsciousness and subconscious resides in every chakra. It just depends on what part of life it relates to.
That's right.
And then it gets deposited in the relevant chakra.
That's right.
So our mind isn't located just in our head.
Right.
As a matter of fact, because we have so much unconscious and subconscious energy running our lives that we're making choices from, it's safe to say more of our mind happens, because it happens at the unconscious and subconscious level, it's really more in our body than in our head.
Right. I remember Louise Hay, she wrote the book You Can Heal Your Life, and she spoke about how when she was younger, I believe when she was a teenager, how she was molested at a young age, and later on in life she developed cervical cancer. Now, how I took that is that because of this experience that she had at that particular time, it depleted the energy of that second chakra, which is in correspondence with the reproductive system. And being that it's at a low vibration, it's pretty much opening the floodgates emotionally for cancer to develop over time if you suppress those emotions and not release them. So we have to keep the chakras in harmony or in balance, if you will, and raise them, like you say, vibrational upgrade. So it all makes it makes sense of how we can turn ourselves into ill people versus healthy people.
You think that's...
Yeah, and my second book, great point. My second book goes into, the subtitle is Vibrational Upgrade, a conspiracy for our bliss. Easing humanity's evolutionary transition is the subtitle, but Vibrational Upgrade, a conspiracy for our bliss, meaning our chakra system. The 3rd chakra is the solar plexus one. That sits at the top of the digestive tract. It relates to the pancreas. And it's the right to desire what we desire, or what you desire. And the aspects in that 3rd chakra are it's considered the traditional will center of the chakra system. But because I have Qigong training and background, I believe that it's both the second chakra, which corresponds to the Dantian in Qigong, as well as the third chakra of the traditional chakra column. But in the third chakra is self-esteem, self-confidence, and it's where we are considered to manifest out onto the physical surface of life from. And so what's also there is the inner child and the element of joy. And what I take that to mean when I'm working with somebody, the way that I see this chakra get dysfunctional is when somebody is being required to overproduce, so to speak, or they feel like they can't keep up with what they don't have the right to desire what they desire, meaning a job where they have a food truck where they're selling their grandmother's recipe of their most favorite cherished comfort food that they've always made to comfort themselves. Instead, they're locked into a cubicle because they feel like they have no choice, because they have to, and fill in the blank, pay for the mortgage, support the kids' tuition, whatever they have to is perceived as. But they don't feel like they have choice, which also, by the way, corresponds to the fifth chakra. But coming in directly back into the third chakra, it's where we manifest from. So if I'm feeling like I don't have the right to desire what I desire and then manifest that out into the world, then I'm setting up a dysfunction in my chakra. And so when I look at the fact that the inner child and the element of joy is contained in the very same chakra that contains where we manifest from, it implies when I see a person happy and healthy with a really well-functioning third chakra, if they're manifesting what brings them joy out into the world, then that chakra is balanced. So that in and of itself is telling me, and I'm overly simplifying it, it's not quite this simple, but in a way it is this simple. If we're not aligning with our joy and manifesting that out into the world, then that's going to set off a dysfunctional third chakra, which then will have other repercussions in other chakras and other body parts. And so when you bring up the example of Louise Hayes, when you bring up the example of sexual molestation, any kind of trauma gets locked up into the unconscious. And so a great deal of what I am doing when I'm giving somebody a vibrational upgrade, or when I'm helping them with their own vibrational upgrade, is clearing trauma.
That's
trauma
right.
gets locked into the unconsciousness, and it corresponds to whatever chakra the trauma is, what aspect of life the trauma is related to. And so when and I have to say, the official statistics of molestation is 1 out of every 2 women, but I find it to be more like 1 out of every 1.5 women. In fact, there's one woman I've met in my entire life who hasn't had some kind of inappropriate sexual behavior put upon her.
Right.
So if that's not cleared in that womb area, then it's held in the unconsciousness of that physical part of the body. Yeah, so I don't want to overly simplify and say if you have trauma and you don't clear it, you will get cancer. It's not
No.
But emotional trauma definitely is. I just went to a conference this weekend, and Dr. Mercola spoke at that, and he had a list of a bullet slide of what makes you sick, and the number one thing on the top was emotional. He didn't use the word trauma, but emotional suffering.
Right.
Oh,
so
yes.
So I mean, it's understood finally. About 2 years ago, the Western medical community came out with the AMA in a journal article said that at least 50%, they didn't say at least, they said 50% of all physical disease has some root in emotional issues.
And that makes sense, right? Because of stress. If you're emotionally upset, then naturally that's going to bring on stress, right?
Yeah, but the stress, that's a great point, Lou, but the stress with emotional upset gets suppressed, as Ken was saying. So if it's just flat out stress, where I'm busy today and I don't seem to be able to keep up, and there's a car accident that had me in traffic, and the technology was failing, and it's just the day-to-day stress of modern living in our globalized world, then that's one thing. It's more surface level stress. But holding emotional trauma and unresolved emotional issues actually takes the bigger toll on the body than anything else, honestly. Because when I start working with people and I'm clearing their chakras, one of the very first outcomes is they have more energy, because chi, like in Qigong, or prana, or the English term is vital life force energy, is what is the wheel that the chakra is turning. If it's open and balanced, it's turning that life force energy in that region of the body to those tissues, to that gland it's connected to, and a lot in that communication center that the nerve plexi gathered at that center are. So there's good communication there within the central nervous system, and there's good communication there within the chemical system of the hormonal system. So if it's able to, so vital life force energy, if it's able to turn, then you have great full throttle vitality. But if we have emotional trauma that's stifling the consciousness or the chi from moving, then that is a block of the chi, and so it sits at the unconscious level and resides in the relevant chakra, and therefore we have less vitality. So it carries a toll on our energy levels and on that part of the body that the trauma is connected to carry a trauma and not resolve it. But we can't get there from the conscious mind.
That's
because
right.
it's not at the conscious level.
And
That's
so
right.
then that's why we need to really accept energy as just the way that we refer to consciousness that's not at the conscious level. Energy is thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And feelings and emotions and thoughts all create a vibration, as I've already said. But there's unconscious and subconscious thoughts. And in our culture, when we talk about mental health, we are typically referring to the conscious mind.
That's
We're not
right.
referring to the
That's
thoughts
right.
we can observe. We're not usually referring. That's why I was so excited that you reached out and why I created the time, quite frankly, on my only office day to be on the show, because what if mental health is our natural state? That's what I'm presenting.
Right.
It is. Our wiring is for mental health. And when we use the tools of meditation to observe our conscious thoughts and we address the unconscious and subconscious blocks within our system resounds with absolute singing, humming joy and full throttle energy. But when we only think that mental health can be gotten at through the conscious mind and the talk therapy and the mental approach and the pharmaceutical approach, we're not
That's right.
dealing with the unconscious nor the subconscious, and that's where the majority of issues reside.
That's
You're
right.
right.
People
You're
in a
right.
state of
Oh, yeah.
balance.
Yeah, because those drugs are really suppressing, from what I'm hearing you say, and I know we talk on this show a lot about the pharmaceutical drugs and how they really suppress your ability to think naturally, as well as many of them suppress your immune system. So we want to show your book on the screen, and we're gonna have to take a break, and definitely have to have you back to talk some more about this, because it's so interesting how we as Westerners don't have an understanding of how our body system works and function. And once we get that understanding and get out of the indoctrination of being an illness system and not allow our divine natural bodies to flow with the energy the way they're supposed to flow, we can function better as human beings. So we're going to show your book, the What If There's Nothing Wrong, show that book. So this is great. As you can see on the screen, What If There's Nothing Wrong, and Dr. K in her book here is about understanding, right, why it seems that we in the West, especially here in the U.S., that we've been less equipped to create vibrancy and healthiness and happy lives. And she talks about that in the book. So you can pick up her book and read What If There's Nothing Wrong. And the other book is going to come out. We're going to talk about it. But we need to run to a commercial break, and then we'll have about 6 or 7 minutes to complete talking about the other chakras. So can you hold on a second, Dr. K, and we're going to take a quick break.
Yes, it's Aim to Purpose, the radio show. Mental health is our natural state. We're talking to Dr. Alison J. K. We'll be right back. This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
Hello again, world, and welcome back. We are talking with Dr. Alison J. who is the founder of the Vibrational Upgrade System, holistic life advisor. She's a speaker and an author, and we are talking about the chakras. She's given us some vital information about our energy. So go ahead, Dr. K. We have about 5 minutes left, and we certainly want to have you back because we want to find out when you come back about many of the tools that help us to thrive. And we know you have a wealth of information. You are an expert in this, have studied in Asia for 10 years, I believe? So go ahead and share the rest of the chakras with us. We have about 5 or 6 minutes left.
Well, you can, the listeners, you can go on my website and see the different aspects that each of the chakras corresponds to. It feels like a better use of our time might be to talk more about the way to give you guys the tools.
Yeah, give the tools
to begin with. To help even feel. Now you're getting a vibrational upgrade just from listening to me speak. My vibration that I carry, there is a thing called entrainment, and my vibration's entraining your vibration. So it's clearing what's in the way of your being, assuming that your vibration is lower. Mm-hmm. It's training your vibration up, and there's unconscious energetic transmission that's happening right now. And the Buddhists talk about it as like when there's a teacher, is a transmission, that there's, because of the work that's been done by me and what I've learned in my consciousness, that's contained. So you're receiving that at an unconscious level. And so because it's unconscious, you're not consciously aware of it, so you don't know that it's happening. So it's not something we talk about in the West. But what happens is after you have like a really profound meeting with somebody and you're just like, wow, that person's wise, you'll feel different. And it might be like a week or a month or 6 weeks later that you'll have an experience that makes you go, oh, that's what they were talking about.
That's right.
Because it's taken your consciousness that long to integrate the unconsciousness you've unconsciously received up to the conscious level. So there's so much more that's going on that we don't get taught to even pay attention to. And as a matter of fact, we get taught to disregard rather blatantly in our culture, to focus by default, focusing on the physical, focusing on the tangible, focusing on what we produce, makes us not focus and not give regard for the invisible. And living on the other side of the planet for 10 years, more than anything, that really is what I walked away with. There's so many things. That's why you just heard me thinking about that, because there's something else too. I think tide is one. Energy is primary there, not the physical. So it's understood that what's happening in the energy field around a group, or what's happening in an unspoken way, is what is really the influence there and the importance there, and what's being said visibly, tangibly, audibly isn't necessarily what's to be relied upon. And then living there too, also, I mean, it was really phenomenal with the backdrop of the Eastern Hemisphere, where they believe in reincarnation without a question. So there's this sense of longevity, durability, longitude, more that, you know, even with a child's passion or natural talent, that's considered to be a carryover from a past life. And there's been studies done where people have, long story short, there's been facial comparisons of somebody in this lifetime and in other lifetimes when they've been regressed
and they've gone back and dug up the files based on the data when the person was regressed that they said that they lived in. They go and find pictures of that person in that age, and they compare the pictures, and the symmetry of the facial characteristics remains the same. Even there's birthmarks that can happen. Even there's so the disconnect or the veil is so much thicker in the West because we're not taught to, we don't have that as the backdrop to our cultural paradigm over here. So I wrote that, what if my first book, What If There's Nothing Wrong, my 10th year living over there, because I really wanted to give readers, people who who haven't made the choices I've made, who have like chosen to marry and have kids and have a mortgage and a steady job and do different things than me and haven't had the chance to travel the world and live immersed in a culture longer than a year, longer than 2 years. So you really start to take on the characteristics of that culture increasingly, and I was known as one of the foreign teachers who didn't live amongst the housing that they provided for us. I went downtown and integrated and worked alongside and with the Chinese and got to know them and spent all my time researching and studying subtle energy and Qigong and blah, blah, blah. So I try in a very concerted effort to give the reader a sense of just how much what we think and what we don't think about is from our training, because and all our training is based on the beliefs of people who went before us in our history.
Oh,
so
yes, that is so true.
And it's different on the other side of the planet, so it's all from the mind, everything.
You're so right. And I want to quote something right quick. Ken wants to say something, but I want to say something here that you said that brings to mind, because of the what we're talking about, mental health is our natural state. It says, Dr. K also presents holistic tools to transform long-term issues that take students and clients beyond wellness into levels of thriving, not typically expected nor considered possible within the American system. And I love that part here that you stated in the information you provided, because in the Western culture, it's like we are kept in a state of illness as opposed to the mental health, the natural state. In that mental state, all that energy can bring on these diseases, which we are managing nothing but diseases as opposed to managing and helping people to maintain a healthy system. So you have lots of tools that everybody can use, and I know you've given your website. So Ken wanted to say something, and we're going to have to...
Well, just real quick, I mean, this is the reason why ancient healing practices around the world have worked tenfold times better than here with allopathic medicine in the Western culture, because they do deal with the invisible first, with the chakras and the meridian system, all the elements that we never hear about here on the West, especially in mainstream television when it comes to health. You rarely hear about these particular systems that you've been describing. Prana with ancient Hindu practices, Qigong, Tai Chi, many different other modalities that have worked for thousands, ancient African culture, thousands and thousands of years, that have been time tested and proven to work. And you've lived outside of this country for 10 years. And like you said, you do start to take on the life culture of your environment. It's inevitable, because energy, anytime you're in an environment, that energy grabs a hold. It becomes hypnotic, if you will. You take on the energy of the area where you're living, and you take on all of the teachings, all of the everything that you've learned. You're bringing it to us, something that we hardly ever get to hear. It is about the subconscious. It is about the energy. It is about the unconscious, the invisible energy that we don't see, but is always there. It's here right now. It travels. Like you said, you're sending a vibrational energy to us right now.
Yes.
Because energy travels simultaneously. There is no place where energy is not.
And that's great. And we know your new book is
good.
Coming out, Dr. K. What is the title? We want to show it on the screen here. And when is your new book coming out? And just give us a little briefing about it. We have it on the screen.
2 weeks. It's called Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss. And
Yeah.
the book it's really very much going into depth and giving many stories from different anecdotes from different clients in application of the chakras and what part of life they cover. And it inspires the reader to new levels of well-being because they can see what others have gained from doing this work and play, because it's not all work. If we just simply look at what the word chi or the word prana translates into, it's vital life force.
That's right.
That's life
That's
force.
right.
It's our force for life.
That's right.
And so if you just take your palms and you hold them out in the most simple, well-known qigong movement of pushing hands. Hold your palms a foot apart. Push them, let them naturally come together, not touching, but about an inch apart, and then pull them slowly apart again to about a foot and a half. Slowly bring them closer together again, and you'll start to feel tingles. You'll start to feel heat, prickles, sensations, in a sense that you can't really push your hands together. There's something there. That's the chi. That's the life
right.
force. It's electric and it's magnetic, and it's able to be
Yes.
picked up on now by machines that have been created to measure it. It's real.
It is
Yes,
real.
It is
It's our
real.
vital-
It is real. And if you've had acupuncture, I've had acupuncture when I was sick, and it really is real. That acupuncture, he was telling me about my chi, and I had never heard of it. Of course, this was probably 10 years ago or so when I first started learning about it. Of course, I'm not nearly as astute about it as you and Ken are about it. You guys are really, you're the expert, Dr. K, in it, and Ken knows a lot about it too. But I'm
Lou,
looking
thanks
forward
for having the show, though.
Oh,
Thank you for
yes.
That's
having
right.
the show to
And
educate
we
yourself and others.
absolutely, because you have really educated me a lot on what's going on with the chakras, and we want to get a final thought from you and share with the listeners and the people that are watching, because we are live stream, how to get your books, how to go on your website, get in touch with you, and some final thoughts quickly.
Okay, so my website, www.AlisonJKay.com, and there's a filter there. If you want to get started with doing work with me, there's a filter there that's called, come help.
Right, right.
There's such a demand. I have so many assistants helping me, and people helping me for free because they've experienced the shifts from the work that they receive from me. There's just so many people helping to get this work out there more, so I'm grateful to you, too. It's just, we're going through a revolution in humanity right now, and it's not that all Western drugs don't work. I mean, if the antidepressant is going to help lift you up for a little bit of time so you can get your head above water, cool. And then what else is possible from there? But I don't want to just rule out all Western medicine.
Absolutely
because, I mean,
not.
as
We
of
can't.
course, there's nothing wrong. It's excellent at trauma care.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what we're known to be good at. So the bottom line, though, is that if you want to get into the, you want to understand how you could better benefit from this work, there's a page, Is This You, on my website, and my team can help you. You can submit the form there, and they can help direct you towards, depending on how you answer the brief questions, how
Right.
best I can serve you and my services can serve you. I would say the number one thing you can do for yourself is you go to my website and you get the Chakra Attunement audio series. That
Okay.
has been absolutely life-changing for people. And so my final word is, what if it isn't as you think it is? And what if you didn't believe every thought you had? And what if you had the choice not to believe your thoughts? Because you do. Don't believe every thought you have.
Absolutely.
Especially the ones that are talking you down.
Absolutely.
Because you're a child of this universe. You are here in a body. You have the right to be here. And you are loved.
Right, and we want to keep that love and that energy flowing. And with that said, we really thank you, Dr. K, for coming on with us at this special broadcast. And once your new book comes out, I'm going to get it, and we're going to have you back and talk some more about the new book.
Yes.
And just share with the audience how to use that energy to our best benefit. And we really thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. And I want to go, next time you come back, I want to go in depth with the chakras and the meridian system. The earth is alive. The earth has its own chakras and meridian system or energy points.
Ley lines.
The ley lines, exactly. When I had my first, second, and third Reiki attunement, especially the first one, that's when I knew and felt that energy is real. As a Reiki master practitioner, it is, you can feel energy and you can project it through the hands. Dr. Michael Beckwith said you project your heart through your hands because there are points in your hands that hold certain power. So, yeah, I can't wait for you to come back.
I can't either, because I've learned a lot.
We can go even more in depth on the energy workings of what is the human body.
Yes, because we need that, because drugs have its place. However, we know that we have a natural way of healing. And we thank you so much, Dr. K, for joining us and bringing all of this information to us. And we look forward to coming back. So go to Dr. K's website. She just gave it to you. And also pick up her books. You can get them on Amazon, or her website will tell you how to get there.
Yep.
And thank you. The book coming up is called The One. What If There's Nothing Wrong? We have it on the screen here by Dr. Alison J. That's the first book. The book coming up is Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss by Dr. Alison J. And until next week, we will talk to you from Aim to Purpose, the radio show. And always remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Woo-hoo!